It's lightweight. That pull pierce technology was the end all seller for me. Once I found out what a Burna was, I started looking at the competitors. Most of them are very bulky. You have to hit them to puncture the CO2. Simplicity, I think, would be the key to this whole thing. Load it, put it in your pocket, put it wherever you're going to keep it, and that's it. You're ready to go.
Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I am so glad you're here. What a special topic and a special guest we have here with us today. We've got Cert Waite is going to talk to us about non-lethal stuff. Let's get Cert in here. See where I can get him in there. How are you, Cert? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. I'm good, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about some non-lethal stuff that maybe we don't really talk about enough in church security. It's an option. I kind of tended to sometimes with the audience here in the past kind of downplay it a little bit just because of the necessary training and that kind of stuff, because it's tough for us to get training. But this looks like a great option. So I'm anxious to hear about it. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what we got going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a retired San Fernando police detective, actually, when I left. That was a long time ago. So since then, I've done a variety of things, mostly in business community. And about a year and a half ago, we opened up our company called Ungun. It has two N's at the end of it. And we started selling the Burna products, pretty much just for me walking around the neighborhood and talking to my neighbors and walking my dog. That's actually how I got involved. We had an attack. My dog was attacked by another dog that lived across the street. And I didn't have time to do anything at that point. We survived it. My dog had like 30 stitches. Anyway, I'm watching TV one night and Sean Hannity comes on. He starts talking about this thing called the Burna. I'm going, what's a Burna? Nobody even knew what a Burna is. They still don't know what a Burna is. Anyway, I ordered one immediately. I got it, and then I started carrying it. And you don't need permits. You don't need licenses. There's no background checks. It's not considered a firearm, so it uses CO2 as the projectant, and it shoots a hard plastic ball or it shoots a pepper ball.
Nice.
All of it for. We're now kind of getting away from the non-lethal, Joe. We're kind of going into the less lethal name.
Gotcha.
It still kind of means the same. Anything where you're not going to create great bodily injury or death, the likelihood is very minimized, but there's still a chance. Just the minute if you put hands on somebody, and like as a cop, and you take a guy in custody, who knows what his existing condition is? He could die.
Right.
So we can't really say, oh, it won't ever kill anybody, because that's not true. Anyway, we opened up selling out of the house for about a year and a half, and we just recently inked a deal to get a retail storefront here in Santa Clarita, California.
Nice.
And so we'll be teaching at the store, selling at the store. We've got a shooting range set up inside. That's the one cool thing about this stuff, Joe. You can use this in your living room as long as you shoot it into something, right?
Yeah.
We have capture devices, so you can shoot the projectile in there. We've got practice rounds, so you could go outside in the backyard and shoot it against a tree, so you won't get a ricochet. They're eco-friendly and they dissolve in water. So there's a way to practice with this product literally every week if you wanted to.
Nice.
Some of our customers have made, for example, 4th of July, instead of having all the those cornhole games, cornhole, is it called?
Yeah, yeah.
And instead of doing all that, he set up a cool shooting range in his backyard, and everybody just had a blast shooting this thing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool. He says, "Oh, this was the best 4th of July we ever had." So,
yeah.
But because of that, and because it's CO2, you don't have the loud repercussion noise. You have no kick whatsoever. So when you fire this thing, there's no kick. And so people who start shooting it for the first time go, wow, it's powerful, very powerful.
Yeah.
These projectiles are coming out at about anywhere between 280 and 400 feet per second, depending on which model you buy. Hitting at that range, it's accurate to 60 feet, but our threat factor is at 20-foot range. So we teach hey, if he's not a threat at 60 feet, the person's not a threat. The person is a threat if they continue advancing. And once they get into that comfort zone, and my comfort zone is 20 feet, you come within that zone and then I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, and I know you have a video, might show it a little bit, but these pistols look like Glock revolvers. I mean, semi-automatics.
Yeah.
They look like it. People see it and they go, "Oh, that's a gun." No
Yeah.
question about it. So that's a deterrent in itself, right there.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and play that video if that's okay with you
Okay.
here. I'll
Great.
add it in here.
Defense platform, lightweight and simple to use. It uses an easy-to-load 5-round magazine and is powered by an 8-gram CO2 cartridge. Burna launchers fire a 68 caliber chemical-filled projectile using a patented pull-pierce technology where the CO2 canister is only punctured on the first trigger pull, meaning your launcher is always at the ready. It's capable of incapacitating an attacker for over 30 minutes and is accurate and effective at over 60 feet. It requires no permits, no background checks, and is interstate travel friendly. With Burna, you will be prepared to defend.
Nice. I like it.
Yes.
I'm excited.
So that skirted, I mean, that was a fast video, so it went over some of the topics that are really important with the Burna. Probably one of the most important factors is once you load that Burna with the CO2 cartridge and load it with the projectiles, whatever it's going to be, whatever you're going to carry, it's good forever. Until you pull that trigger, that's when it pierces the CO2 cartridge, sends the first round down the chamber and at your suspect. So
Wow.
you can just have it in your, CO2 leaks. Now, a lot of the competition out there, you have to slam your hand on the bottom of the magazine well in order to puncture the CO2 cartridge. So there's an extra step. So you got a situation where a guy's approaching you and you got to think, oh my God, I got to hit that button. I got to do it. The Burna, you just point and shoot. So first trigger pull. It's great. They've got a patent on that technology. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But so the Burna, so they showed you an orange one. I don't know if you can see this one. Let's see.
Yeah.
So this is the black version of one of them. This is our basic entry model. This one does not have a safety on it, and that's by design. What I find, and most of the real revolvers and pistols coming out, not so much revolvers, but semis don't have safeties anymore. Your finger is the safety. So in this case, the trigger pull on this is quite a bit more like 6-7 pounds. So you're not going to accidentally fire this. You can drop this, kick it, do whatever. It's not going to fire off a round. It can't. The only way it can fire is by pulling the trigger. And then they were talking about 5-round magazines. We now have a 7-round magazine that'll fit all our models. So that extra 2 rounds may come in handy for people. But I was sold 100%. When I first started carrying this around, I absolutely knew this was something that I needed to have in my protection. I carry it everywhere. I carry it in a fanny pack most of the time. It's a little big to carry in the waistband, but a lot of people do. In the winter, maybe. In the summer, it's been really hot here in Southern California. We've been really hot, so it's hard for me to carry something in the waistband. But it's a polymer, so it's not going to rust.
Yeah.
You got a good chance. I mean, this is the only, if you have any problems or malfunctions, or let's say you're shooting pepper and accidentally one gets caught in the chamber and it explodes inside your chamber, you can take this ungun or this Burna launcher and completely immerse it in water and clean it out, air it off, you're good to go. Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. That
is cool. Now, what are you folks recommending? What's the training process? Do you have an online training, or what's the process?
Everybody's asking me to do an online training, and I said, well, that's fine, but hands-on training, you've got to be able to fire this thing.
Sure.
I'm going to say 3/4 of the training that we do are on an indoor range. You have to fire it, you have to get proficient with it, and you have to feel comfortable with it. And we do firing from a holster, we do firing from a fanny pack. We teach when we're talking about church personnel, so I teach the safety. I consider them safety personnel. They don't like to be called security guards
Sure.
here in California anyway, because then it puts a whole new connotation on them. Even though they are security for the church, they like safety personnel. Is it really kind of the name they're kind of adopting?
Mm-hmm.
They're not wearing these Burnas exposed. They are not announcing the fact that they're carrying the Burna. Um, if somebody sees this Burna in a holster, they're going to think they've got a gun for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no getting around it, right? And so the churches, and I've taught couple big churches. We have more guys to teach, but they're all the understanding that this is a concealed, basically, item, not going to be something you're brandishing around. And if you have to pull it out, I recommend if you pull it out and you're pointing it at somebody because you're intending to shoot that person, then you need to announce the fact that this is non-lethal, non-lethal, something like
Right.
that. Because usually what happens, if you've got a confrontation, most of these churches that I'm aware of, most of them are on radios. They're talking to each other about what's going on the campus, right? And so if you've got a guy armed next to you and you pull out the Burna, and you don't start yelling non-lethal, he might think, oh my God, when he hears that first shot go off, he thinks it's lethal and he may join in. That
Right.
happens in police work all the time.
Right.
So you got to be kind of over about that.
And that's one thing when I look at the different products, and I'm coming from the police background, the less lethal stuff was always a different color for one. And then you made the announcement. So how, are your sales, your recommendations, are you recommending some of the orange over one that looks exactly like a handgun, like you just showed us? Is there any difference you're thinking there?
Well, it's personal preference. Some of the pastors want to have all orange, or all yellow. Those are the two colors you really will not see in a real situation. Firearms don't usually come in orange or yellow. They come in tan. They come in pink now. They come in gray. And we have all those colors available. But once again, the fact of the matter is they're not carrying another lethal weapon. And if they are, then this Burna has to be on not the strong side. So if you're right-handed, you don't have this draw out of your side. You're drawing off of the left-hand side, right? And maybe you pull it out and you realize, oh, this is not a gun. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, we've had just recently that poor gal that officer that shot the guy thought it was a taser.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and a taser looks nothing like a real gun. I mean, really.
Yeah.
And yet she pulled it out, and that adrenaline rush going at that moment, believe me, you're not thinking 100%.
Tough to make decisions.
Yeah, it's tough, man. We're making split decisions anyway. And the same thing's going to happen with the safety personnel in the church. That's a split second decision. I don't care what you have. Am I going to shoot this guy? Is it enough of a threat that I have to shoot him? And look, if somebody is brandishing a gun around the campus, you better have some security personnel that have real firearms. Mm-hmm. Because unless this is the only thing you have, I wouldn't be shooting somebody with it.
Right.
But if you can get that first shot off, he's not going to shoot you at that point. This hits hard enough to completely distract them, and then you shoot him maybe 1-2 more times. That's it. He's going down. We have
options with the projectile too, right? You can have the pepper in it, or do you have some without the pepper in it?
Yeah, we have a kinetic round. That's what we use in California. It's a hard plastic ball, basically, still .68 caliber, which is pretty large, about the size of a marble. So when that thing's hitting you at 300 feet per second, it leaves a mark.
Oh, I bet.
It distracts people right away. Look, I'm in retired law enforcement. I was never shot in law enforcement. So I don't really kind of know what to expect. So
Right.
the bad guy may have never been shot either, but all of a sudden he gets shot with this thing. He sees it. He gets shot. He thinks he got shot with a real gun. Drops to the ground, even though he doesn't have to. They drop to the ground. They figure, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is it. This guy just shot me.
Yeah.
So the whole point is stop the threat. And in a situation for a safety officer or safety personnel at the church, they need to get this guy into custody, right? They're not just going to leave him lay there. So they
Right.
have to approach him and get him into custody. Um, you and me, the citizen in the street, we have no obligation for that. So we can shoot this guy and then have enough time to get away. And that's
Right.
the basis for everything. Get away from the threat.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. So so let me just clarify. I like to be to the point for the audience here, for the community. So really I love the idea of this product. I'm going to work on getting my hands on one so I can mess with it a little bit. But the fact is that when we order this from you, because some of us are in North Carolina, you're in California, so we're kind of ordering this, and we need to work on our own training programs then, right? With that, and our own announcements and that kind of stuff. We're kind of used to doing that with a lot of things, but is that the case then at this point?
okay, so Burna has dealers all over the United States, right?
Okay.
So some of those dealers are called premier dealers, which I happen to be one, and that's a dealership that has a firing range at their location.
Wow.
They move those guys up to premier status because not everybody does that. They might go in the back alley and show somebody how to shoot it, but they don't have like a training facility. So depending on how this goes today, and I start getting some calls, I have a good connection at Burna, obviously, and I would be willing to have them set up some training places at these establishments. And depending on where it's located, I know our guys go everywhere.
Right.
They don't need me,
Right.
although I'm the greatest, they still don't need me, right? I mean, the object is practice with it, learn how to use it, learn how to load it, learn how to unload it, all the functions of a regular gun, right? Without all the other stuff that goes with it, right? You're not putting a slide together. When you load that magazine, when the magazine gets loaded for the first time, okay, this is a magazine. This happens to be a 7-round magazine, but if you can see that top projectile,
Mm-hmm.
that's the hard plastic one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a hard plastic projectile. It will not break. So if you shoot somebody at this, and after you're done, you want to go back and recover it, you can. You can reuse it over and over again. So,
Wow.
but we have practice rounds, like I said, that break apart. So that's what I use because of this kinetic round not breaking, you don't want to hit anything that can cause a ricochet. So Burna has created some capture devices. They've got a tall one that's almost the size of somebody, maybe a 5'8" person, and you can shoot into that and it captures your rounds for you. So you can go
Wow.
back and reuse them over and over again. Yeah. I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, my range that I'm setting up will be shooting the kinetic round because we're going to have capture devices. So instead of me messing up the whole place with all this dust and all these, eco rounds, we're going to shoot the real thing and let people see. And we've got backstop. We got our own collection department, but
Gotcha.
yeah, it's the only rounds. I mean, anybody outside of the state of California and outside of the state of New York can purchase the pepper round, and I can sell them that and ship it to them. But you never practice with that. So we have a practice round that simulates that. So when it hits the target, it breaks apart, and then you get that look of that powder that spreads out at about 2.5 to 3 feet. And that's what somebody breathes in. That's what puts them to the ground. The pepper rounds that Burna sells are max, most of the max rounds. They've got OC and CS combination in a powder form. I'm going to tell you, Joe, I've been hit with it. It is not pleasant. It is a devastating product.
I like
I
it.
mean, I don't think I was right for about an hour before I could
Wow.
really. It was incredible. So
But that tends to stay in a dust form, so we don't have the contamination, if you will. You know, in a church environment, if we do something, we don't want it to affect all 500 people that are in the auditorium or something if we have to do that. Does it stay pretty
well,
localized?
it does, but and then because it's a powder form, it drops to the ground. So you need a cleanup after that. But
Sure.
if it's like anything else. Be aware of your backstop. Who's behind you? What's behind you? If you shoot the beautiful thing is, it's not going to kill the person. They're
Yeah.
going to be uncomfortable for a long time, and the church may get sued over it because but the threat was eliminated.
Hmm.
So yeah, I usually if you're going to fire at somebody with the pep around, I just tell everybody around, hey, get out of the way. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to boom, boom, I'm going to lay this guy out.
Right.
People will run. First of all, as soon as they see the gun come out, they're not standing around anyway.
Sure. Sure.
Everybody's spreading out. They're out of the way. They may have their cell phones out, but that's about it.
Sure. Now you mentioned the church getting sued and stuff. Are you aware of any lawsuits at this point where the church or anyone that's used it has been, victorious, or any that we should be concerned about how the outcome was?
None.
Okay.
Nothing. That's not to say it hasn't happened, Joe.
Sure.
But so because the churches really want to kind of be incognito on this issue, they don't want to keep advertising the fact that they got all this training and they got all this stuff and they got the
Yeah.
pepper
Smart.
ball. So if there's an incident, I talked to our head guy at training yesterday, and they've not had one incident throughout the whole United States from a church or even a security guard company where the security guard company got sued over the fact of using a less lethal product.
Right.
It's going to happen. California, it's going to happen for sure. I mean,
Sure.
and I personally carry liability insurance because they're going to come right after me. Oh, you taught those guys.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that's fine. I mean, I take that. That's when I got in business, I understood all that, and now that I'm training the churches, they understand that. Matter of fact, that's how I got involved. There's a gentleman here in California who handles about 50 churches, all their security compliance information, and he actually referred me after looking at our PowerPoint presentation and all that stuff. He started referring me to churches, saying, "Hey, this is the only guy I trust to do certification." So
Sure.
I'm certified to teach Burna's classes. I'm certified at the Pepperball classes. I'm certified. I'll be certified pretty soon with tasers as well. We're going to get certified as a security company, so I can then start teaching some of this stuff to security guards, quote security guards,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
puts me in that level that they can feel comfortable. And I have no problem going to court and testifying to what you learned.
Right.
We have a test, we give a little test. We have the training on the range. You have to be proficient on the range. But all of that is so important. You leave there with a great understanding of this product.
Nice. So can you give us an idea, Kurt, at the time of this recording, if I've got a small church, and I want to try to get one of these Burna devices, what am I looking at for starting? Having the product itself, the pellets, and then maybe getting the catch material that you mentioned so that I can do some practicing. What am I basically looking at the time of this recording to get started with
I
one?
would say to be equipped properly, the Burna launchers start at like $295. They go
Okay.
$295, $379, and $479. The basic unit just comes with a 5-round magazine and basically 5 rounds. So if I was outfitting a church, which we have done, some of them want the best. They want the most powerful one they have. That's called our law enforcement version. It carries a 12-gram CO2 cartridge rather than an 8-gram. Comes with 7-round mags. So I would say to do that whole thing just for one unit and have the pop-up tents and all that, you're probably looking about $650.
Nice.
I would say that would be our top of the line, outfitted with 100 rounds of practice, and you go from there. That's the practice rounds are really, I mean, it's like $35 for 95 of them. They're not that expensive, right? But if you get the capture then you don't have to keep buying that. You buy one thing in 95 and you just keep shooting them over and over again.
Right. I like that.
That's a cool thing. Yeah. That would be the most expensive. I'd say between $500 and $650, depending on what model you want.
Nice.
And we can accommodate all that. I mean, training it's hard to do virtual training.
Sure. Yeah.
On a range. I mean, it'd be like you trying to teach somebody how to shoot a gun on a range. Unless they fire it, they don't have any idea.
Yeah, sure.
So they have to fire it. And they can do that, ideally, you send somebody out, like if you're in Oregon, you send somebody out to California to me, they spend a day with us and we train them what to do, and he goes back and he teaches everybody else.
Sure. Yeah.
Saves them a lot of money. That's for sure.
For sure. Anything else you can think of to add? I mean, and people can contact you. It doesn't matter where we're at. We can go to you. How do people get a hold of you? And I'll put that on the screen here.
They can email me if they want at Curt, C-U-R-T, at ungun with 2 N's, the end of gun, ungun.com. Or they can call me direct. My direct line is area code 661-313-0656. I'll take calls. Oh, and that's text as well, because that's our mobile phone. So you can text me if you have a question. You want to know more about it? Absolutely.
Excellent. Any additional resources, anything that you can think of? What's your website as well?
It's ungun.com. ungun.com.
Excellent.
They can go. So my website is not as sophisticated as Burna.
Sure.
Burna.com. Byrna.com. I don't have the resources they have, but anything you see on their website, we carry, and then some. We carry some women's purses now. We'll be having them in our retail store, concealed carry purses, really nice stuff that won't break the bank. Because women seem to feel the most vulnerable. I would say the majority of our classes, just civilian classes, are 70-30, 70% women. The husband always wants to have the wife learn how to do this. She doesn't want to shoot a real gun anymore. And then the husband comes to the class and he starts shooting it. Next thing you know, he's buying one and she's buying one. I mean, that's kind of the way it works. It's a great product. You've got to get it in your hands. I mean, I'm telling you.
Now, Curt, I want to, kind of, maybe this should have been one of the first questions, but it comes to mind, especially with the value of your experience in law enforcement. You've handled less lethal tasers, all that kind of stuff. What would you say, what got you focused towards Burna? What makes that so much better for us than the other stuff out there?
I think that the fact that it resembles a gun, a real gun, was a key factor. One of the key factors for me. It's lightweight. That pull pierce technology was the end all seller for me. Could carry this around. I carry the one I carry at night, and I've got a light at the base of it. It's got a Picanini rail, I guess is what you call it. This rail here. You can put accessories on there. You can put a laser on there. You can put a light on there. So it's just like a real gun. So I would say that of the things, this was the leader of the pack. I researched, once I found out what a Burna was, I started looking at the competitors. Most of them are very bulky. They're ugly. They're yellow and black. You have to hit them to puncture the CO2. They may be more powerful, some of them, but you got to dial it in. Simplicity, I think, would be the key to this whole thing. Load it, put it in your pocket, put it wherever you're going to keep it, and that's it. You're ready to go. Bring it out when you do training. And well, it's like anything else. Anybody who teaches firearms training knows you better get on the range.
Mhm.
That's not convenient for people. What if I say, just go to your backyard and shoot at some targets? It won't
Yeah.
disturb the neighbors. Hell, when we're teaching classes at our house, we'll have 20, 30 people in our front yard with targets all over the place shooting up a storm. Neighbors never complain one bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's CO2. It's like a BB gun going off, you know.
Right.
So I think convenience, ease of use, and power were big factors for me. And I haven't seen anything else. I went to the SHOT Show this year, January. I looked at some of the competitors, and I just was going, "You guys just don't have it, man." And
Yeah.
they will never get that pull pierce technology. That's patented, so they'll never have that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Kurt. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'm hoping we'll have you back here some. Maybe after you get your store finished and give us some
Yeah.
ideas from there. That'd be great. So
Yeah,
I
maybe we
appreciate
do
your
it.
time, and I certainly recommend to all of you to contact Kurt with your questions and talk to him more about this product. I'm excited about it, and I'm also thinking about it for my church as well. So something to take a look at. Anything else to add,
Good.
Kurt? Anything you want to add?
No, I appreciate your time, Joe, and I'm sure I'll hear from some of your people for sure.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate that.
I look
So,
forward to it.
all right. Well, thanks for joining us. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe as usual, and take a look at this next video. It's the next one in the series you should be watching to learn a little bit more about church security.